What's up? Welcome to the College Football Show with Alec Pecano and my special guest tonight, Robbie
Hello,
Culleton.
everybody. How is everybody doing? It's been a while.
It has. So, tonight's show is it's loaded. We've got our way too early top 25, our record predictions for four teams, and also some our thoughts on some of the coaching hires in college football. And so we're going to get started here with our way too early top 25. And I will go first with my honorable mentions and my 25 through 19. So my first honorable mention is Georgia Tech from the ACC. And I think what people are not realizing is that Georgia Tech is a sleeping giant in the ACC. And Robbie, you can cut in at any time and tell me whether I'm right or wrong on these. But I feel like Georgia Tech's a sleeping giant, and nobody's picking in to finish in like the top 5 in the ACC this year.
I'm going to say this. Georgia Tech had a great year last year. They pulled off some big upsets against Miami, almost upset Georgia. You'll see mine when they come out, but I'm a huge fan of Georgia Tech right now.
My next honorable mention is Miami of Ohio. They had a lot of guys leave in the portal, but they also brought in a lot of guys in the portal. And they brought a quarterback back to the MAC where he had some success, and that would be Daquan Finn, who used to be at Toledo. Then he went and tried to go play at Baylor and lost the starting job at Baylor. So now he's back in the Mid-American Conference at Miami of Ohio. And 2 out of the last 3 years, not including last year, Miami has won the MAC conference. Where do you sit on Miami of Ohio?
I think Miami, Ohio's always been a very competitive football team. Enjoy watching them. I think that them and Bowling Green are going to be the top of the conference this year.
Next, I've got Michigan State as an honorable mention. And I know the crowd watching, they've heard me really rave about Michigan State and Jonathan Smith. And I think that Michigan State, their trajectory is only going to go up the next few years. Look at what Jonathan Smith did after year 1 when he was at Oregon State. And look what he did year 1 at Michigan State. I think Michigan State fans, you should be enthused with your future.
I think Michigan State's in great hands right now. Upset special. I'm calling it already. I think Jonathan Smith's a great coach. I could see them beating the team, their team from up north, not Ohio State, but their team from up north.
Michigan.
Yes.
And then my last honorable mention is, of course, Iowa. They're that bug that you smack on the windshield. You think they go away. They stick around.
Can I ask you a question? Who's their starting quarterback going to be this year with Cade McNamara now out of Iowa?
Supposedly they got a transfer, but it's Kirk Ferentz. And what has Iowa always been known for? Running the ball and defense.
Yeah.
So we start with, now we get to my rankings 25 through 19. At number 25, and I know I'm going to get some backlash for this because they struggled last season, even though they won their bowl game, South Florida. And yes, I know this is an unbiased South Florida fan talking to you. They do have a couple tough games this year, but I feel like South Florida, if they win those games, they can compete for a spot in the playoff. And they will have Byron Brown back. He did not transfer.
I'm a big Dark Horse fan on USF right now. Big Byron Brown fan. Their actually head coach. I'm a big Tennessee fan as well. Their head coach was the OC at Tennessee a couple of years back. So big fan of USF. They're doing great things in Tampa.
Number 24, and I might look like a dummy later when the season starts, but I've got Illinois at 24. They went 9-3 last year. And Illinois fans, you can slander me all you want in the comments. I was wrong I was way off with your win projection last year. And I will admit that. And Brett Bielema did save his job for one more year. Now, what does my guest have to say about Illinois?
I've always been a fan of Brett Bielema. He's had been almost everywhere in college football. It feels like always there's a Brett Bielema team that's playing real well. He coached well at Wisconsin a while back. I mean, he's a good player and he's a good coach. So I think they're going to compete in the Big Ten. I just don't know if they're going to be able to compete with the Ohio States and the Michigans and
unfortunately, the Penn States.
Right.
Which I will get to later in my rankings. Number 23 is the Florida Gators. And if you would have asked me to make this back when the season started last August, I would not have Florida in my top 25, my way too early top 25 for 2025. But Florida, they have, I'm not going to say the easiest schedule in the SEC because that goes to Missouri, which is embarrassing and atrocious.
Right.
But Florida has probably the second or third easiest schedule in the SEC.
Can I ask you something real quick? What does Missouri have? I mean, you lose Luther Burden, you lose your quarterback, and you are given the easiest schedule in the SEC, and you have nothing offensively. So to answer on the Gators, I was on the bandwagon mid-season after their loss against Texas A&M of firing their coach.
I'm going to say this, I was too, but then I guess something clicked after the bye week, and as we saw, they ended up finishing the season with winning their bowl game.
Yeah, I am very high on the Gators. I think the Gators.
I am too. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, which unfortunately probably ain't going to end well. But let's get to number 22. And it'd be Memphis out of the AAC. Yes, I know I have two AAC teams in the first half of my rankings, but it's Memphis has always been one of the more competitive teams in the AAC, and I know they're losing Seth Hennigan. I know they're losing a lot of their key guys on offense, but I still believe in. I was on the Ryan Silverfield bandwagon until they made the conference championship game. No, until they won their last game of the regular season. Then I'm like, you know what? He's not going to get fired. Why don't we just jump off that train and find somebody else's train to jump on that should be fired? But there's that. And then number 20. Well, what do you have to say about Memphis?
I'm very impressed with Seth Hennigan. Very, very, very impressed. They have a lot of playmakers. Last year when they the game when they beat Florida State. I'm expecting new players to step up over there in Memphis. Mike Norvell left that program in good hands when he left to come to FSU, and it's still in good hands right now in Memphis, Tennessee.
Number 21, I've got a team that missed a bowl game last year, but they get a lot of their good players back other than Devin Neal. That would be Kansas. I think Jalen Daniels, and I want everybody to listen closely to this. I think Jalen Daniels is a dark horse for the Heisman Trophy going into 2025.
Top 3.
As long as, listen to these words that come out of my mouth, as long as he's healthy.
Top 3. He's got to find playmakers to throw the ball to, but I got him. He deserves to be top 3. Yes. I would agree.
And then at number 20, I've got another SEC team, the South Carolina Gamecocks. I love me some Shane Beamer football.
LaDorius Sellers, that quarterback.
Lenore Sellers.
Who? Okay, I got a question. Who's the better quarterback in the SEC? Sellers or Lagway?
Oh, putting that. Oh man. Ooh. That's an interesting question. I don't know. I would have to say it's pretty even.
You'll see him in my rankings.
And then at what do you have to say about South Carolina? Do you like Beamer ball?
I love Beamer ball. Beamer ball. I'm gonna make a prediction right now. You'll see my rankings, but South Carolina and Beamer ball are going to get in to the college football playoff next year. Early prediction. South Carolina playoff.
At number 19, I have Texas Tech from the Big 12. Look at what Texas Tech did in the transfer portal. They cleaned up.
I love what they did in the transfer portal. How many people did they have? Like 20-something people. I mean, they just fooled everyone. I love what Tech did in the portal.
I did too, other than, losing Micah Hudson, which that really wasn't, to me, that wasn't a big loss. Because he really did nothing for them.
Right.
But yeah, I love their portal. All of a sudden, my narrative has changed on Joey McGuire, the Texas Tech head coach. I used to think he had maybe 1 or 2 years and he was gone out the door. But now I am buying into that Kool-Aid, and I'm gonna say something. Texas Tech might just win the Big 12 next year.
I think they got a shot at it. Watch out for Arizona State, but I think Texas Tech does have a shot at it.
Okay, so who is your honorable mentions and in year 25 through 19 for your rankings?
My honorable mentions, I got 2 honorable mentions. One of my honorable mentions is the Navy midshipmen. Big fan of the option offense. They played very well last year. And one other honorable mention I have is the USF Bulls and Byron Brown and the USF Bulls. I'm big fans of that team in Tampa. All right, 25 through 19. You ready? 25. The Vanderbilt Commodores. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vanderbilt Commodores. What a year they had last year. And getting their starting quarterback back, I am on that Vanderbilt break train right now. Number 24, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and Haynes King. Haynes King, what year is he in right now? Is he
Well, actually, I think he graduated. I think he's going pro.
Or was he one of those quarterbacks that got that eligibility?
No, he ran out. He's out of eligibility.
Okay, I gotta say something. Even if he runs out of eligibility, that team is still bought in. Bought in. Number 23. This team was undefeated last year going into their game against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And that is the Army. Army looked very well last year. What did they start off? 8-0?
Yeah, they were. I thought they were going to go undefeated the whole season.
I'm on the Army fart train right now. I really am on the Army fart train. Number 21. Welcome back, Scott Frost and the UCF Knights. Taven Jackson coming over from Indiana was a huge get in the transfer portal. What are you going to do with Mackenzie Milton and Scott Frost? Remember what they did last time they were together, but now Mackenzie's going to be a coach for Scott Frost. Watch out, the UCF Knights can be a dark horse.
What? Wait. Did I hear you say Mackenzie Milton
Mackenzie
is
Milton,
on?
now coach at UCF.
That's an interesting dynamic. So who's at number 20?
Sorry, number 21. Sorry, I'm at 21. Are you ready? I want Alex's opinion on this one because I know he went to a game last year. Number 21. Oh, he's got the hat now. The Virginia Tech Hokies.
I was waiting for you to say that.
The Virginia Tech Hokies.
Shout out Brett Pry.
Shout out Brett Pry and those Hokies.
I was waiting for you to say that.
How was your experience? How was your experience at the Virginia Tech game?
Oh, it was. I got to sit in the press box. It was electric. It was. You gotta. To anybody that has not gone to a Virginia Tech game and experienced Enter Sandman in person, highly recommend it. It was. Even sitting in the press box, I got chills from the whole stadium. I could barely hear myself think. The whole stadium was shaking, including the press box. I'd go back
number
again.
20. Number 20, a team that Alex has in his top 25. The Texas Tech Red Raiders and that transfer portal. My goodness, Texas Tech hit the ground running this year.
Yes, they did. And I can see who you have at 19. And I do have them in my rankings. So
19, the Michigan Wolverines. I have them this low because last year they really did not have a quarterback. But the way they proved themselves, when they beat Alabama, the way they played defensively, this is a defensive team. It's obvious.
It is. I'm going to say this. I know I'm a diehard Ohio State fan. Michigan fans, I do have you in my rankings, but who is your quarterback going to be? Is it going to be Mikey Keene or is it going to be the freshman that you don't?
Right.
I've heard from numerous Michigan fans and everybody that watches, you can comment what you think down below, but I think Mikey Keene's going to start maybe the first couple games of the year because their second game of the year, they play in Norman. Yes, they play at Oklahoma week 2. And you're not putting a freshman quarterback.
Won't be ready.
No, I think he's going to start maybe week 3 or week 4.
Yeah. All right,
Here is our first record prediction of the 2025 season. And welcome to the Conference USA, Missouri State. So they start the year at USC, University of Southern Cal.
I got that as a loss. You
So do
start the year
okay.
as
So
a,
I have that as a loss too
as a division
because of
school, and I mean, I was looking at this. I've got them winning some games, but it's not going to be USC.
no, they're not beating USC. So they're 0-1. Then they play at Marshall. And Marshall fans, I need to make a personal apology. I had 0 expectations for you last year. And you won the Sun Belt. It ain't going to be that way this year. You lost your coach to Southern Miss.
Exactly. You lose almost your whole team transfers and your head coach. That's a tricky game. I think the Thunder and Herd pulled out late though. I'm going Herd.
So you're saying they start 0-2.
Yes.
I think they're going to win. I think that's their first win because you look who they play. So they're 1-1. They play SMU week 3 at home. That's going to be a loss.
I don't think you're beating Kevin Jenkins. I don't think you've been SMU. That's 0-3.
Okay, so you say 0-3. I'm going to say 1-3 because 1-2. I think they lose to SMU. Then they play UT Martin. That
okay. Welcome to the game of the Division II schools. I'm going to make my prediction right now. This is the game that I had circled of Missouri State's first one of the season. UT Martin.
Okay. I think they beat UT Martin.
I do. So, I really do.
Okay, so to recap, we both have them losing to USC. Now you've convinced me that they might actually lose to Marshall. So 0-2, lose to SMU 0-3. They beat UT Martin, so they're 1-3. Then they play Western Kentucky at home. Do we think they beat Western Kentucky?
Upset alert. I think Missouri State wins.
I do too. So they're 2-3. Then they get a bye week. Then they go to Middle Tennessee, which was one of the worst teams in the Conference USA last year.
Missouri State gets
their third win, so they're 3-3. Do you agree?
Yes. 3-game win streak.
And then they go to, so they have another bye. Then they go to New Mexico State and play at New Mexico State.
I'm leaning towards that as a win.
I am too, 4-3. Then they play Willie Simmons and FIU at home. That's going to be a win. They're 5-3.
Yes.
Then they play at Liberty. No Caden Salter.
I think Liberty's still a great team. I'm gonna go that's a loss.
So 5-4. I think they also lose that game. UTEP is a win. So they get the bowl eligibility.
Yep.
So they're 6-4 right now.
Kennesaw
State. 6-5 because they lost to Liberty. No, 6-4.
Right, Kennesaw State.
When
Kennesaw State's a win. Yes.
7-4. I think they beat Louisiana Tech, so they 8-4.
Yep.
They're way too early 2025 record prediction for Missouri State.
With the possibility to go to the Conference USA Championship game.
Yes. So that is number 1 team for our way too early record predictions. Now we get into talking about some first year head coaches before we jump back into our rankings, the next set of our rankings. And we're going to start. I'll let you go first with your head coach, your new first year head coaches that just got hired at new schools.
The coaches that I think are gonna do very well at their new school. I'm gonna say this one name. It's Bill Belichick. He brings a lot of NFL experience. It's gonna make those guys at North Carolina play tough. They're gonna be a bowl team next year. I just don't know if they can win the ACC. I think maybe give it a year or two. If he stays for his second year, there might be a chance. But I have high hopes for Bill Belichick.
Okay, so who else do you have?
Scott Frost, UCF. Another good coach. Going back to where, the reason why I have Scott Frost on this list is because of how well he did when he was at UCF the first time. Yes, they're in a completely different conference, but I think he is going to do well the second time around.
Okay. Anybody else, or is that it?
That's it for right now.
Okay, so I have 5. And I actually have let's see if I can find it. Give me 30 seconds. Okay, here we go. So let me get this. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Jake Dicker at Wake Forest. I think the reason it was a good hire is, one, new face on the field for Wake Forest, because we've known them over the last decade to have Dave Clawson, and he's gone now, so that's new face.
Yeah.
And if you've watched any Washington State games, their offense is really creative with him, with Jake Dicker as their head coach. Young, this is the key for me. Young, bright future for Wake Forest. Now that Dave Clawson, the old head's not in there anymore, I think Wake Forest has a very bright future in the ACC. And Wake Forest fans are going to like this. I think they have a chance at 7 or 8 wins in year 1 under Jake Dicker. Number 2, and I was calling for Stan Drayton to get fired for a long time. And somehow it slipped my mind that they actually fired him, and they hired Casey Keeler.
Why did it take Temple so long to fire their coach? They've never been good.
I don't know. But here's the 3 things. So, new head coach, finally. And I'm ready for Temple to be out of the basement in the AAC as a USF fan. Chance to improve, possibly out of basement of AAC. And offense, and Temple fans will love this. Offense will score more than 10 points. Number 3, Willie Simmons, FIU. And I'm going to say something. I knew he was eventually going to get a head coaching job in either the Group of 5 or a Power 4 school. but very successful head coach at FAMU. This is a great opportunity for him. If he does good at FIU, he could get a bigger job. And FIU fans, I think you're in store for a vast improvement in the wins. I think year one, you're going to get between 5. And I know FIU fans are going to like that. New Southern Miss head coach, Charles Huff. Charles Huff. Going to turn around Southern Miss at year number 1 from 1-11 to, I'm predicting 10-2, like he did with Marshall last year. Great sense of humor. If you haven't seen, to those of you that haven't seen his little press conference he did before the Ohio State game on his Tudor's biscuits, trying to get Ohio State guys to come to Marshall. And he's also a very well-liked coach. And then Robbie will know this one pretty well.
Barry
Odom, former defense coordinator at, I believe it was Missouri.
Yep.
Now he gets
there too.
Well, and he was also a head coach at, I think, New Mexico. It was either New Mexico or New Mexico State. And now he's the head coach at Purdue. He's going to turn around. Purdue fans, Purdue will not be in the basement next year of the Big Ten. They will win 4 or 5 games in year 1 under Barry Odom. And Purdue fans,
give him time.
Yes. And the other thing I'm going to say, Purdue fans, is you will want to start going to football games again. I remember when Ross Aid was loud and you couldn't hear yourself think. Back when they beat Ohio State in the Tyler Trent game. Brings back bad memories. But it's still, they beat Ohio State. You're going to want to start going to games again. Put it like that way. Okay. So that. And then now we get back into our top 25. So let me go back to the screen share. And we go to number 18 through number 7. At number 18, yes, I do have Colorado from the Big 12. And I understand they're losing Shedeur Sanders. They're losing Travis Hunter. They're losing Shiloh Sanders. But it's Deion. And they just got Juju Lewis to flip his commitment from USC. And I believe that's where Caden Salter ended up. And Caden Salter is probably going to start the first half of the season. And then the last 4 games of the season, they might put in.
Can I say something about Colorado real quick?
Go ahead.
Just brought in, like, within the last 2 weeks, a new running backs coach that everybody should know far too well. The name Marshall Faulk.
No, I thought it was DeMarco.
No, it's Marshall Faulk.
Oh, they brought in. Who was it that brought in DeMarco Murray? Penn State. Penn State brought in DeMarco Murray, which Penn State is in this batch of the rankings, but we'll get to them in a second. Yes, I know I'm probably a little too high on Colorado, but I'm still on the Deion Sanders hype train.
I gotta see what they got. I got to see what they got.
Number 17, Clemson. Clemson fans, you can dog me all you want. I need to see Cade Klubnik be more consistent in 2025. Not saying that he wasn't in 2024. He was, but he had some games where he threw 2 or 3 interceptions. And that's unacceptable. You can't be throwing interceptions left and right.
He's a senior. I'm excited about that Clemson LSU game. I want to see how he performs as a senior.
Number 16, I've got Michigan. And it's mainly to do, they don't really know who their quarterback is going into the 2025 season. If they did, Michigan might be a little bit higher. And I know that you would probably agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you show me something, you go beat Oklahoma. I got Oklahoma high in RAM rankings. If you go beat Oklahoma, then yeah, absolutely.
Number 15, I've got another SEC school in Texas A&M. Marcel Reed is a glitch. He's a cheat code. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Texas A&M might actually, I'm not going to say win the SEC, but they might be in the SEC title game in 2025. At number 4,
Go ahead.
go ahead. What were you going to say?
How good has Mike Elko ever gone to a championship game? Wherever he's been, has Mike Elko ever been to ACC?
No. But I think they might get to the SEC championship game this year. Against at number 14, I've got LSU. And the main reason they're at 14 and they're not inside the top 10 is Garrett Nussmeier. What version of Garrett Nussmeier are we going to get in 2025?
Well, we're going to see that week 1. I think the winner of that Clemson LSU game will jump into our top 10.
Yes. Number 13, I've got Penn State. And there's a guy that was the running backs coach at Oklahoma that is now the running backs coach at Penn State. He played for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. DeMarco Murray. He is the new running backs coach at Penn State, which took Ohio State's defense coordinator, which I'm not too mad about. But I know that Robbie probably has Penn State higher than I do, but I just can't buy into Penn State going past being in the top 10. And I understand they're pulling what Ohio State did this year, where all their guys are coming back. But what Drew Aller are we going to get?
Right. Their best defensive player is not coming back.
Yes. No Abdul Carter. But you get Katron Allen back, Nick Singleton, Drew Aller. But what Penn State are we going to get? Are we going to get the Penn State we got before the Ohio State game? Or are we going to get the Penn State we got in the playoff where they were dominant up until they played was it Boise State?
Notre
Dame and got beat. Number 12, Miami. ACC. And the only reason Miami's not in the top 10 is because they have a new quarterback. And is it going to work as well as Cam Ward did? I don't know.
Carson Beck. I'm just not sure what Carson Beck is going to bring to Miami. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Catherine. I'm just not sure what Carson Beck's going to bring.
I'm not sure either. At number 11, I got a Big 12 team that everybody's sleeping on. It's the Cyclones of Iowa State.
I don't have them in my top 25. I mean, they can be very good.
Or it means they could be very bad, because seeing as I did this before last season and half the teams I had in my top 25 were terrible. But we'll see. Number 10, I have, and yes, Alabama fans, you can get mad at me. I have Alabama at 10 for one sole purpose.
How good is Ty Simpson?
That's what I was just about to say. How good is Ty Simpson? How good are those wide receivers going to be? How good is your running back room going to be? What about your offensive line?
Yep, I would agree.
At number 9, I've got Tennessee. Nico Iamaleava had a pretty good season last year. And yes, I know how to say his name correctly now. I struggled at the beginning of last year. But I think he's going to be really good. And of course, we got a resident Tennessee fan on here. So what does the Tennessee fan think about Tennessee being number 9?
Um, I think that that's the right spot. We lost a lot of people to the transfer portal. I think a little bit too much. But Nico's a great quarterback. Josh Heupel, what Josh Heupel has done the last 3 years for Tennessee, starting with 10 wins, going to the Orange Bowl, 9 wins the year after that, and another 10-win season this year and getting to the playoff. I have high hopes for Tennessee. Well, I'm going to be able to see very early on. I think they can beat Syracuse week 1, but playing Georgia in the month of September, I'm going to be able to see very early on how good my balls are actually.
At number 8, I've got Boise State. And yes, I understand they're losing Ashton Jeanty. But their quarterback, Maddox Matson, is coming back. Spencer Danielson proved that he's a good head coach. And I think Boise State could end up as one of the top 12 teams in the country next year.
Yeah, I mean, Maddox is a great quarterback. But they just don't play a hard enough schedule.
Yeah, that's... I thought about leaving them out and putting somebody else in this spot, but I couldn't find anybody else to put in that spot.
I would agree.
And then at number 7, I have Oregon. They lost. Oregon fans, you tried. That's all I can say. You tried against Ohio State. But I hope you learned your lesson. Because my resident Tennessee fan that's on here with me can say that I'm pretty sure Tennessee learned their lesson to not leave if they have to play Ohio State again, not to leave Jeremiah Smith one-on-one.
Well, I'm going to say this. As a Tennessee fan, I don't think that they did the college football rankings correctly. I think Ohio State should have been one of the teams that got a top 4 bye. I think it should have been Tennessee SMU in round 1, and Ohio State should have gotten a bye round 1. Ohio State obviously was one of the top 4 teams. And just a point, Ohio State should have gotten the top 4 bye.
They should have. But back to Dan Lanning. Now, so the narrative has been that, and yes, we will get to Ohio State in the top 6. But the narrative, and the reason I'm saying this, the narrative around Ryan Day was always, he can't win big games. He's never going to win a national championship. Now I feel like that narrative is shifting over to Dan Lanning because he made the playoffs this year and lost to Ohio State. And now there's already been media people saying, he can't win the big game. Dan Lanning, if you're watching, don't let the media get to you. Ryan Day didn't, and look what happened. They won the national championship. Maybe that could be you next year or the year after. We'll see.
Okay, you ready for mine? 18-7.
Yes.
All right, 18. A team that surprised me in the ACC. The SMU. Their quarterback is back. They had a great year in the ACC last year. They surprised me coming from the American Athletic, right?
Yes.
That they surprised me. Number 17. Now, I have this team at 17 for a couple of reasons. The Florida State Seminoles. One reason. Who's their new OC? Gus Malzahn. 2. Who's the new quarterback? Thomas Castellanos. If you go back and think, Castellanos was Malzahn's quarterback at UCF, Malzahn's first year.
I forgot about that.
And all the weapons that Castellanos and Florida State is bringing in is huge. Number
Let's
6.
see, you got Indiana at 16.
Number 16, Indiana. Oh boy, oh Hoosiers. Can you repeat what you did last year? Can you repeat it? Number 15, the Arizona State Sun Devils. Yes, your running back is gone, but most of your offense is still there. Arizona
Including your
State-
best wide receiver.
What?
I said, including their best wide receiver.
Including your best wide receiver. Number 14. I have this team low, but they could be higher. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Who's going to be your starting quarterback next year, Notre Dame? You've had so many good transfer quarterbacks, and Riley Leonard and other people. But who is going to be your starting quarterback next year?
Is it going to be CJ Carr or Steve Angeli?
Exactly. I mean, your defense is always going to be good.
Number 13.
Number 13. Sorry, people, if you're watching. But number 13, which means if the playoffs came out today, this team would be out. The Georgia Bulldogs. Who is your quarterback, Georgia? Who is your quarterback? Because if it's Gunnar Stockton, he sucked in the game, in the college football playoff game. He is not good enough. He is not. You ran the ball. You had to rely much more on your run game. I mean, those receivers at Georgia weren't as good. They definitely weren't as good as they have been in the past when you had Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. Georgia had a down year. I'm sad to say it, but Georgia had a down year last year. And I see it coming again next year, too.
Number 12.
DJ Lagway and those Gators. And I know your other co-host, because I watch your show quite frequently. He's a big Gator fan, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
I am huge on DJ Lagway and those Gators. Watch out for Montel Johnson. Watch out for DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway is a Heisman contender quarterback. Now, if you remember, I asked you this question a little bit ago, a while back on the show tonight. That goes into my next number. Number 11 is the South Carolina Gamecocks. and Ladoris Sellers. South Carolina, you surprised me last year. You really surprised me. I didn't expect South Carolina to be that good last year. I really
Neither
did.
did I. So who is number 10?
Number 10, Garrett Nussmeier and the LSU Tigers. I'm going to say this. They will be higher if they go beat Clemson week 1.
Okay. Number 9.
Penn State, Drew Aller,
Jim
James
Knowles.
James Franklin did a great job with Penn State.
He has,
Number-
and he acts. I'm going to say this. The 2 coaching hires he's made this offseason since Penn State lost, Jim Knowles and DeMarco Murray, I think it's going to benefit Penn State really well. But Jim Knowles, just be careful what you wish for when you play Ohio State. Because we've seen your defense for the last 3 years. So we know what it looks like unless you change it up at Penn State. That's all I got to say. No hard feelings. You did the right thing after winning a national championship. You took more money and took the defensive coordinator job at Penn State. So I'm not mad at all.
Number 8. I'm going to give this guy a little bit of luck. Carson Beck in Miami.
Okay.
Number 7, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Who was their star receiver last year? Who was a freshman?
Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams. How good is Ty Simpson going to be? Can Kellen DeBoer get over the hump? I mean, remember games last year where Alabama blew out Georgia in the first half. But there were other games where Alabama struggled against Oklahoma, Michigan. What Alabama are we going to see next year? Which one?
And now we get to our next. Way too early record prediction. It is the team we just spoke of. Well, Robbie just spoke of in his rankings. Indiana. They start the year at home against Old Dominion.
What's the one?
When Kennesaw State
When?
So they're 2-0. Indiana State, the Sycamores.
When?
3-0. At home against Illinois.
When?
So that's 4-0. At Iowa. That's
a toss-up. Because Kirk Ferentz is going to have his guys ready to play in that game. If he finds out that Indiana's going to be undefeated, Kirk Ferentz is going to have his guys ready to play in that game.
And Kinnick Stadium is not an easy place to play when those fans are.
I'm going to go win.
I am too. So that's 5 in a row.
I see who's coming up on their schedule.
They've got Oregon. I think that's going to be a loss. So they're 5-1. Then they play Michigan State at home. 6-1. 7-1 after beating UCLA.
Yep.
8-1 after beating Maryland on the road.
Yep.
Lose to Penn State 8-2.
Yep.
Beat Wisconsin 9-2.
I think they beat Bucky the Badger.
And then finish the season 10-2 after beating Purdue.
And I would be completely okay with that. You have a 10-2 Indiana team next year, that might get you into the playoff.
Yes. And no, we are not done with record predictions. We will get to the other half of our rankings. We've got 2 more way too early record predictions coming up. And the first one is Memphis. No Seth Hennigan, We're gonna see how Memphis is gonna do in 2025. They start the year at home against Chattanooga. When
Statement real quick. Don't forget we have a college football show on Thursday this week too, you guys.
yes, and we will be doing more record predictions on that show.
Yeah.
But back to this. So they play. Memphis starts the season at home against Chattanooga. When at Georgia State. When at Troy.
When
3-0. At home against Arkansas.
Is there a quarterback still there?
Tailing who's? Memphis?
No, Arkansas.
Yes, Taylen Green is still at Arkansas.
All right, so
Lost. So they're 3-1. I'm saying they lose to Arkansas as well. At East Carolina. So 4-1. At home against Navy. It's the triple option. I think they're going to lose. So 4-2. Then they play Tulane at home. So they're 5-2. If my math is correct.
Yes.
6-2 after they beat Tulsa.
Yep.
Ooh. 6-3.
USF pulling up the upset.
6-3 after they lose. Memphis. Yes. 6-3 after they lose to USF. 7-3 after they beat Rice. 8-3 after they beat UAB. Do you agree with that? Those two?
Yep.
And then
Florida Atlantic, I think Florida Atlantic's gonna win. I think Memphis will go 8-4.
Okay, so 8-4 for Memphis. I also agree with you. So far we have Missouri State going 8-4, Indiana going 10-2, and Memphis going 8-4. And now we get to the final one for tonight. And that is Purdue.
Oh boy, Purdue fans.
Purdue fans, if you can tell by the sigh, I'm not
looking forward to do this one. I'm sorry.
I'm not either. But we'll see. Hold on.
Score down.
I am. Give me a second. Okay. So spring game doesn't matter. Ball State at home to start the year. When Southern Illinois at home. When USC at home. So they're lost 2-1 to start the season. At Notre Dame. Lost 2-2. Come off the bye week. They've got Illinois at home.
That's a tough one.
I'm going to say win.
I think that's a win.
So they're 4-3.
3-2.
3-2. At Minnesota. When? 4-2. At Northwestern. When? 5-2. Loss? Okay, so 4-3. Rutgers at home.
Rutgers started off well last year.
I'm going to say win.
Okay. I'll also win too. 5-3.
5-3. Michigan's going to be a loss. 5-4. Ohio State's a loss. 5-5. They beat Washington to go to 6-5. And they lose to Indiana.
Hey, Purdue, you're going to a bowl game.
You go 6-6 in year one under Brett Bielema, under Barry Odom. That's not bad. That's improvement.
Yeah.
And now we get to the last batch of our rankings.
Woo-hoo!
Okay. Go ahead with yours while I try to get.
Okay, my number 6, Cade Klubnik and Clemson. Dabo Swinney's always had a good team at Clemson. Number 5, I want them to be higher, but I just don't know. It's Nico Iamaleava and Tennessee at number 5. Number 4, John Meter, I believe is his name, the quarterback that just transferred to Oklahoma from Washington State.
Yes.
I'm going Oklahoma at number 4. I think that Oklahoma is in good hands. You saw what they did against Alabama. I think Oklahoma's in good hands at number 4. Number 3, Oregon Ducks. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be, but
I think it might be Dante Moore.
Number 2 and number 1. I think Alec and I probably have the same number 2, number 1. Number 2 is Texas. Arch Manning. I mean, what's not to like about Arch Manning? And number 1, your national champions from last year. They're gonna probably be ranked in a whole lot more number 1 spots. Alec's favorite team. They're just unstoppable. Alec, are you wearing this shirt tonight? Number 1 of my ranking, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Jeremiah Smith,
Ohio.
Carnell Tate. It's a dynamic duo. And there's probably a lot more that I'm missing. Ryan Day is the GOAT.
Yes, he is. I am struggling to get mine up, so we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. My number 6 is Georgia. Can everybody still hear me? I know you probably can't see me, but my number 6 is Georgia. Yes, I wanted to put Georgia higher, but I couldn't due to this distinct fact that we don't know what Gunnar Stockton we're going to get. Are we going to get the Gunnar Stockton we got in the playoff? Or are we going to get a whole different Gunnar Stockton since he's had a full offseason? Number 5, and we just did their schedule a few minutes ago, Indiana. What do you think about my number 6 and my number 5?
I think you have them exactly where they should be. Georgia, what Gunnar Stockton is going to show up? Indiana, we just did their schedule. I'm a big fan of Kurt Cinetti.
Number 4, Ole Miss.
Who's their starting quarterback, Alex?
Austin Simmons. I am on the.
Is he the one that came in for a drive or two against Georgia?
Yes.
Huh?
I'm also on the Lane Kiffin hype train. So
as you should. I don't have them in my rankings. I think they're just outside. But yeah, I can see Ole Miss having a good year.
Number 3, Texas.
Yep.
And I know what people are gonna say. Why is Texas number 3 and not number 2? Arch Manning. I like Arch, but we don't know what Arch we're gonna get.
All your playmaking receivers are, I think, gone, and Arch is gonna have to step up and make some big time plays.
Number 2, Notre Dame. And the sole reason I have them in front of Texas is Marcus Freeman.
Great coach.
Great coach,
And
former Ohio State defensive coordinator.
Man,
And
number 1, I am assuming.
Ohio State is at number 1 because they won the national championship.
Obvious.
And that's simple.
It's simple. They should be favored to win another one.
Yes. And that is going to wrap up tonight's episode of the College Football Podcast with Alec and Robbie. We will be back Thursday night.
9:30.
Same time on Thursday night.
All right. See everyone there and have a great night.